Hello and welcome back to another episode. Today I will be discussing the overall narrative of the Old Testament. This is coming right off of the heels of last episode. I'm hoping to build up a bit of a backlog as I'll be out of town this coming weekend, so I need to get these prepared ahead of time. And yeah, last episode was a bit of a travesty. Sorry, comedy. Tragedy was the episode before. And I figured today, for this episode, the more important goal between unlocking the Forgotten and beating the Lamb as Isaac is to beat the Lamb as Isaac first. That gives me more opportunities to find the missing poster. So, this is what we'll be doing. And hopefully, it shouldn't be stressful. I didn't focus on the tab. There we go. I will check this out because I am greedy. Nice. Not nice. So, this is a topic that I don't need to spend a whole lot of effort preparing because I am a fairly well-studied Christian, and I am already familiar with a lot of both the Old and New Testament. So, that's why I'm able to turn this around so quickly, despite having only recently finished the recording for last episode. Ooh, and I can actually accrue and spend money now. Isn't that amazing? Also, maybe I should have fought the boss first. That's a lot of bombs. Okay. All right. That's an interesting starting item. I take it you are the secret room. No. Okay, I'm just bad. You are. Yeah, that's right. Well, that wasn't really worth it. Alright, now let's get into things. Oh boy. So, the narrative of the Old Testament. Starting from Genesis chapter 1, going all the way through the two kingdoms. I have never particularly studied the Maccabees, the Maccabean Revolt, anything like that. I didn't use my D6. Oops. God, I had it. Maybe I should have, but speed isn't bad. Luck down is bad. So, I say that to say that there is certainly more that I could study about the history of the Old Testament. That is good. But that I pretty much know what I'm talking about. I may not know every last detail. There are certainly experts out there who are better than me. But I know a lot more than your average person does. That's for certain. So, starting in the book of Genesis, Genesis itself captures quite a lot, by the way. We, of course, start out with the creation myth, where God creates the world in 6 days, and on the 7th day he rested. And because of that, the Jews had a... Ooh, brain. Effectively had a holiday once a week, compared to the rest of the ancient world, because they were told to keep the Sabbath. Remember the Sabbath, keep it holy. Okay. Let's see. I have one bomb. I'll take the locked chest. That wasn't really worth it. So, God creates the world, and part of the world that is created is Adam and Eve. He creates mankind. He specifically creates mankind in order to be somewhat of a caretaker for the world. I will go check this out since I have the speed. I got nothing from it. Shame. Adam and Eve are told to name all of the animals. That is their job. And yes, it is kind of sort of actually a job, too. It's not just a suggestion. Of course, they're not getting paid for it. Anyway, I'm teasing a bit of theology of heaven. It's often the Garden of Eden is often used to speculate on what heaven would be like. And the fact that Adam and Eve had jobs sort of tells you a bit about heaven as well. About what could be there. Anyway. So, then there's this snake in the garden called Satan. And Satan appears to Adam and Eve and tempts Eve into doing the literal one thing that they were told they shouldn't do, which is eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And so Eve does, and then she gets Adam to be complicit with it. Basically, there you are. And that's why I didn't break the ones in the center. I wanted those bombs. And so Adam and Eve sin, and they're cast out of the garden because God is perfect and pure, and sin is impure. And so Adam and Eve, and in fact the whole earth, must now be excised from heaven, effectively, due to the impurity of it all. And so God kicks Adam and Eve out. No thanks. Even less thanks. Again, kicks them out of the Garden of Eden. Says that he sets up a flaming sword to keep them out, which is interesting. There's some speculation about that. And then Adam and Eve start having a bunch of children, and the daughters aren't named, but you can generally assume that they literally don't only have sons. That would make things unusual. So from these two, you know, all of the nations of the world are brought into being, effectively. And after a while, people build up this big tower called the Tower of Babel, and it's kind of sort of the case that people are trying to be God or be like God somehow, the hubris of man, something. God decides to split up all their languages as punishment for their hubris, and that is why the languages are different. And let's see, where could the ultra secret room be? It could be over here. Yes. Let me just check one more thing. I think it's over here. Yes, it is. I got it right. I almost never get it right because I never really developed an intuition for it. Harlequin baby. No, thank you. Can I get a battery? You know, as much as I'd love to re-roll the item room item, well, Harlequin baby isn't bad. Was there a battery in the shop? Am I going senile? There was not. Okay. So the Ultra Secret Room is a guaranteed Angel Room item. And Harlequin Baby's unfortunately an Angel Room item. Ooh. You, what? What? Huh? I must not understand something. Well, rip item room item. Nope, nope, there we go. Anyway, back to the narrative. So, the Tower of Babel splits up languages for the first time. And then the next major event is Noah and the Ark. So, there's some speculation as to why things turn out like this, but it effectively just says that the world gets really corrupt. I did not expect... Wow, this is a very good run. Compared to last time? Compared to trying to unlock the Forgotten? So, the world somehow gets very corrupt. Again, there's some speculation as to whether that's Nephilim or something similar. Lucky Toe, I think, is better. I think I take this. I wish I had a gulp pill or something. Well, here we go. But God says the world is too corrupt, and so he plans on wiping it clean, basically. And Noah is also kind of there. Noah is like the last faithful man, kind of, sort of. So God says, okay, you and your family are cool. Build a big boat because rain is coming. And Noah's like, what's rain? And God's like, you'll see. Range down. One makes you small, and the moon. I will gladly accept the moon. I don't know where I am anymore. So Noah builds this big box out of wood, and it floats when water starts mysteriously falling from the sky for the first time ever. Kind of, sort of, according to the Bible. Kind of. Also depends a bit who you ask. Things are up to interpretation. To an extent. For some of these details, anyway. The Bible. Let's do that. I don't like any of those. I'll do it again. I will take this. This isn't bad. So the entire world is flooded, and only Noah and his family survive. Everyone else who is too sinful or evil, all drown, I guess. There is a pretty big debate as to whether the flood is on a global scale or just a local scale. But regardless, there is certainly a flood, and it's cool that it exists in other mythologies as well, such as the Epic of Gilgamesh. And then we jump forward a bit and get to... Oh, we're back. Abraham. So Abraham is just this guy from the city of Ur, the ancient Mesopotamian city of Ur. Oh. I don't think I want that. I definitely don't want that. Well, there goes my D6 charge. So when Abraham is 99 years old, God appears to him and says, you and your wife, Sarah, are gonna have a son. And he's like, what? And then Abraham, after a while, has a son. If you want to learn a bit more about that story, certainly go back and watch the biblical binding of Isaac episode I did a while ago. What the actual events of the binding of Isaac in the Bible are. Very nice. I will not take plus 10 luck. But I will see if I can quickly grab enough charge to re-roll my item again. That would be great. So Abraham has a son named Isaac, and Isaac begats Jacob. Okay. I wish I had that earlier. You can't really help me. So I'll blow you up. It's the courteous thing to do. I should mention Abraham is first named Abram, and then God renamed him to Abraham. And then he begats Isaac, who is never renamed, who begats Jacob, who is renamed to Israel, and Israel means struggles with God, or wrestles with God. That comes from a specific story in which he literally wrestled with God, kind of, question mark. And then Israel, now renamed. Oh. There's the battery. Actually, that does work out for me. Israel then has 12 sons. And then, the youngest son, Joseph, goes down to, or his brothers are really jealous of Joseph. Joseph is sold into slavery by his brothers. He goes down into Egypt. He becomes a prominent figure in Egypt. There's a massive famine in the land where his family is from. And they go to Egypt to look for food, and they run into Joseph, who is now, like, second in command of Egypt. And they don't recognize him at first, but eventually he tells them that he's, Joseph, their long-lost brother, whom they sold into slavery. And so all of Abraham's descendants end up coming to live in Egypt because of this for some time. And then a number of pharaohs later, it says that there are, 1 million Jews living in Egypt. That's not really logistically feasible, but ignore that for the moment. Oh, good. Because, well, this gets into a broader topic, but generally when the Old Testament uses a big number, it should be taken metaphorically rather than literally. Because that's kind of how numbers work a lot of the time. I really don't like that. I really don't like that. Here's what I'll do. A stopwatch. I do like that. Oh, it's not enough. Anyway, so there's a bunch of Jews living in Egypt, and they are taken as slaves at some point because the pharaohs, the pharaoh who accepted Joseph and his family into Egypt as honored guests was a while ago, basically. So they're all slaves in Egypt, and then one guy named Moses, who, there's a famous story about him and all that. Famous movie about him even, Prince of Egypt, which is mostly accurate, from what I remember. It's been a while since I watched it, though. Sure. This is a way to get the blue baby... to get some blue baby unlocks. And just checking, again, I'm in the Depths 1. That is unfortunate. I have been waiting for a bedroom for so long. I haven't seen a bedroom in forever, and I am at full health, so I can't even sleep in it right now. That is just such a shame. So Moses is, again, some guy who was important in Egypt and then ran away. There's, of course, more history to that, but whatever. Yeah, that's fine, that's fine, that's fine. I don't... It's fine. Then he hears God's voice calling to him from a burning bush. He is to go back into Egypt and rescue the Israelites from Egypt, which he goes back into Egypt, and his brother acts as sort of a priest. His brother, Aaron, that is. I don't think I'm gonna make it, and I've maxed out my, my thing, haven't I? My tier rate. Crawl space? Crawl space. Sure. So there is a second Eternal Heart I can go pick up. Is this a bad idea? Maybe. Oh yeah, I only take half heart damage. No, I should have saved that. That was wrong of me. That's funny. Uh-huh, very nice. You know, I didn't think that through. But here we are. I really didn't think that through, did I? Oops. Do I want any of these? Not really. Do I want any of these? Yes. Yes, I do. And you. Oh boy, that was a critical mistake, wasn't it? I just stopped thinking. But not a terrible run altogether, as well, despite my shortcoming here. Please die. Oh, I almost could have beaten the lamb within 20 minutes. If I end up dying here, I'm gonna be so upset. I always say that, don't I? I don't believe there's any way to actually skip this room. Anyway, Moses then performs, or has, he's sort of the, I guess you could say, interpreter for God. And now it's a blue baby run. What a messed up run this is. Aye. Ugh. By the way, I have a new policy. I'm not doing any runs after the 1 hour mark from now on, like I did earlier. Very slow. But wait, I could beat Mega Satan. And Delirium. That's the name. I forgot Delirium's name just a little bit. No good luck so far. Man, I'm just so discouraged by my own idiocy there. Idiocracy. But it's not the end of the world. Where is it? I guess the boss has to be all the way to the right, I guess? Anyway, I have slow speed, thanks to the stopwatch, and good damage, decent tear rate, or having Polyphemus, that is. Things could be worse. I would like health, but things could be worse. Let me check down here. Oh. You're probably this way, then. And now I'm really wishing I had kept Brainworm. But having Rubber Cement helps against this guy a lot. Although, I'm just gonna blow him up. Not a single... Oh, gross. Oh, extra gross. Disgusting. Yeah. Uh-huh. Uh-oh. Does this mean I die when I leave the room? It might. I didn't die. You know, talking about the history of tragedies, this is really a tragedy of miscalculation. To categorize it. Oh well. You live and you learn. And it's not like this is gonna end my series either. All things considered. There you are, after a pretty nasty room. And there we have it. Okay, I got nothing unlocked, but it's not an hour yet. So, new run. Oh good, a sacrifice room. What if I just sacrificed everything there? Wouldn't that be great? I am in the stage of not caring anymore. Ooh, Monster Manual is very good. But... And there's the lodestone that I abandoned the other run. Yeah, I'm really into not caring anymore. I gotta snap out of it. What would be good with this build? Hard to say. Anyway, let's get back to the topic at hand. I don't want to leave people hanging too much. So, I will take the chest thank you very much. Moses speaks on God's behalf, and there are, 10 plagues in Egypt, and then Pharaoh finally agrees to let the Jews go, out of Egypt. And then at the last moment, he's like, actually, no, I want them back. He sends his army after them, and then they cornered by the Red Sea. Moses prays to God, and the Red Sea parts, and then the Jews walk across. And when Pharaoh's army comes after them, the Red Sea mushes them. And so they're able to leave, they're able to be free, and they're heading to their promised land, the land of Canaan, where Abraham was sort of near, not quite from. Oh. No. But on the way, they're so stubborn and unfaithful that Moses loses his temper, and God says, because of this, every single member of this generation will die before you enter the promised land, so they wander in the desert for 40 years. Even though, according to Google, it only takes 3 days to cross that desert. If you haven't seen that meme, it's kind of funny. Is it still floor 1? It is. That's amazing to me. I don't think I'm making boss rush. So then, the Israelites enter their promised land, the land of Canaan, but it's full of a whole bunch of other people that aren't Israelites. And God says, they're all evil, you can go ahead and kill them. Don't leave any of them alive. I need the health, but I prefer the damage. So they start going through the land of Canaan, and they kill a few kingdoms in their warpath, sort of. But they do leave a few alive, which historically comes back to bite them. When they finally arrive at their promised land, and they need to cross the Jordan River to get into it, not all of the 12 tribes of Israel at this point actually want to do that. 2.5 tribes, I want to say, actually end up staying behind. But the rest of them cross over, and everything's good. And so for the next however many years, possibly several hundred, the nation of Israel is ruled by what are known as judges. And judges are kind of like, I mean, there's a book about them, but there's 12 of them, and they just, it's sort of like Israel had no, what's the term I'm looking for? Ooh, very nice. Israel had no centralized leadership, really, but whenever they were in a crisis, God would raise up a person known as a judge who came from all sorts of random backgrounds, and then these judges would save Israel at, like, the last moment, basically. Oh. Right, it is Curse of the Blind. So, the judges rule, for a while, a kind of sort of rule. Again, they're not really rulers, so to speak. But at some point, the Israelites say that they're done with judges, they want a king, like all of the other nations. And the prophet Samuel, at the time, range. Great. Goes to God and says, the people want a king. God says, tell them that's a really bad idea. They really don't want a king, so he tells the people of Israel, you don't want a king, that's a really bad idea. And then they say, well, we want one anyway. And God says, okay, I'll pick you the best king. And so he... Polydactyl. Maybe. Nod-leaf is okay. If I can make use of it. I'd need a meat boy. So he selects King Saul, a very tall, handsome Benjamite, that is of the tribe of Benjamin, to be the first king of Israel. And Saul is pretty good at being king. He's very successful in war. But he does try to abuse his he abuses his how do I put it, relationship with God to try and win battles, which God does not appreciate. And so he starts to lose favor with God, and then around that time is when David shows up. So David is just a little shepherd boy, but he has some immense faith in God, and through his faith he's able to beat the giant known as Goliath, who is part of the Philistine army. The Philistines are a recurring enemy of the Israelites. They are possibly identified as... well, no, they are most likely identified as the Phoenicians, or some offshoot of the Phoenicians. You know, the civilization that gave us phonetic language first. The first to do it, not the only ones. That's expected. So, David wins against Goliath, and he ends up being really popular with the people of Israel. And they start to sing about David and Saul and say that Saul has slain his thousands while David has slain his 10,000s. And so King Saul starts getting really jealous of David and tries to kill him on multiple occasions. David, being the faithful little shepherd boy he always is, insists that he can't hurt Saul because he is God's chosen. But eventually, a civil war breaks out between the factions of David and Saul, and in the end, David wins. Although he can't bring himself to kill Saul, and actually, they don't directly conclude the civil war with each other. Rather, in a battle, I believe, again with the Philistines, in the middle of their civil war, King Saul is defeated in battle, but rather than just accepting being a prisoner, he falls on his own sword intentionally. Ow. And thus the civil war is resolved, and David is king of Israel. David is the second king of Israel. Now he's known for being a pretty good king and writing a lot of poetry, and also murdering a man for to cover up committing adultery with that man's wife. So that's not good. And because of that, there's a big dialogue between David and the prophet Nathan and God. I forgot that I didn't even beat the boss yet. Great. Whoa. Anyway, God effectively, he forgives David of his murder, but says there will still be consequences. And that David's own children will also be involved in a civil war, effectively. which does happen. So David has some kids, including Solomon and Absalom, and they start a civil war. Absalom is a terrible person. Solomon is... I guess I'll take that. It's a damage up. Solomon is guaranteed the throne, but Absalom wants to take it away, wants it to be his. I mean, obviously, Solomon isn't the oldest son of King David, so yeah, it makes sense that there'd be some jealousy. Uh-oh. Yeah, I just saw those guys. So, another civil war breaks out between David's sons. But Solomon wins. I will collect this and then not use it. No, thank you. I'll pick it up. I don't want to fight horsemen, but I'll pick it up. Let's see. So Solomon eventually wins the civil war. Absalom is killed. But things aren't... Well, things are pretty good for a while, so King David really wanted to build a temple to God, but God forbade him, saying that God isn't a god of war and death, he is a god of life. So he refuses, as much as he loves David, he refuses to allow David to build him a temple in his honor while Israel is still embroiled in war. So Solomon becomes king, and he is a peaceful king, he's a wise king, he's a very, very wealthy king. Yeah, I'll see. Is that Judas's shadow? I think it is. Great. And yes, I will take this. I need the speed. And I will also accept the damage. And anyway, Solomon is a really good king for a long while, until his many wives start leading him astray spiritually, and he relaxes on some policies. That's a way to put it. Sure. Slight tears up. And anyway, as soon as Solomon dies, his children start a civil war that actually splits the kingdom in two. So Israel only ever had 3 kings, at least as a unified nation. Israel is split into 2. There's the northern kingdom of Israel and the southern kingdom of Judah. Ooh, yeah, I'll take that. The northern kingdom of Israel is most of the 12 tribes. Yeah, I messed that up. The southern kingdom of Judah is... I forget how many tribes make it up. It's only like 2 or 3. Something like that. And then, the end of the Old Testament, chronologically anyways, is focused around these few things. So, the northern kingdom of Israel only lasts for like a generation, maybe, before the Assyrian Empire completely destroys it, wipes it off the face of the earth. And the southern kingdom of Judah survives for several hundred more years. And in that time... Uh-oh. the southern kingdom of Judah has a whole bunch of prophets, the major and minor prophets, who all pretty much say the same thing, the same sort of message. Hey, you saw what just happened to the northern kingdom? That's because they were unfaithful. That's because they abandoned their ways, and were debaucherous. And if we don't watch out, the same will happen to us. And so, I could make it. I could make it. To the boss rush, that is. So, again, a whole bunch of prophets for the next several hundred years repeatedly say, hey, don't screw this up. Ooh. Okay. I'll continue. They try to make sure that the southern kingdom of Judah's act is all together and that everyone is, you know, respecting God and all of that. And, yeah, several hundred years later, the Babylonian Empire steamrolls the southern kingdom of Judah, and everything is destroyed, including the massive temple complex that Solomon built, the first temple. And there is a long line of kings listed for the, I think both the northern and southern kingdoms have their lineage listed. Uh-oh. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Where to go? I am running out of keys. Ow! Uh-oh. He's gonna do it. He's gonna... Oh! Ah! He did it. Oh, almost. I'll blow these up just on the off chance it unearths something. Parasitoid. Yeah, I'll take Parasitoid. Again, there's a long lineage of kings. I'll enter here as well. And I'm glad I did. Long lineage of kings listed. Oh, of course, it's not an actual shop when I have money. Some of the kings were very good. Most of them were not. This is really far away. Uh-oh. But I am able to make the boss rush. Stop giving me money. I blew that up because I wasn't sure how much longer this room would take. Oh, great, it's a troll bomb. Well, time to beat Mom very quickly. I don't think I'm gonna be able to do it, to be honest. Anyway, fun fact, it has been used as a serious argument that the Bible should not be considered a source of good moral authority because it mentions child sacrifice in the Old Testament, performed by Israel's kings, no less. And that is technically true. They were performed by kings that were said to be very evil. These were not things that God ever asked for, aside from the Binding of Isaac. And the boss rush is here, and I have just a little bit of time. Let's, take you. Ooh. Yeah, Infestation 2. I have almost no health, so this may very well end up in another disappointment. Anyway, let's see. So yeah, so there were some very bad kings in that list that did things like child sacrifice. That is not part of Jewish religion or practices or rites or anything. In fact, that was specifically to... What card are you? Oh. That was specifically to the god Baal, I believe? So it's kind of a ridiculous argument. I mean, if I understand a lot of the arguments for why the Bible, particularly the Old Testament, is not the moral authority that a lot of Christians seem to take it as, just in terms of like teaching children like good lessons and that sort of stuff. But to say that it like promotes child sacrifice is absurd when you clearly didn't read the text. And again, this is something that I have seen very seriously argued online. Oh, hi, War. And that is the gist of the Old Testament. Of course, there's a lot more in the Old Testament than just the chronological history. There's a whole bunch of poetry, a lot of it written by David, some of it written by Solomon. Or, well, not the poetry part. Well, kind of. It's complicated. There's a lot to it. Yeah. Whoa, buddy. So, in addition to poetry, the last section... Uh-oh. Let's get this guy out of there. Yeah, sooner rather than later. Is, a lot of the prophecy is not just warnings about Israel and Israel's impending destruction because they're unfaithful to God. It's also... Yeah. A number of promises that God still looks out for Israel even when they're unfaithful. There will just be consequences to their unfaithfulness. But that does not mean God will ever abandon them. And then, lastly, you have something like the Book of Esther, which describes... So, after the Southern Kingdom was destroyed by the Babylonians were then destroyed by the Persians. And it's during the age of the Persian exile when the story of Esther takes place. Esther was supposedly one of King Xerxes' wives, who was Jewish, according to this particular story anyway, and that the Jews almost were destroyed in this time by factions that hated them, but thanks to Esther, they weren't. And then there's still a little bit more. Nehemiah. I almost forgot about the Book of Nehemiah. So, after the Persians take over, the Jews are still in exile for a bit, but then they're allowed to go back to their homeland at some point. And when this happens, they build a second temple to God, since the first one created under Solomon was destroyed. And they build this second temple, and it is said that all the elders who were there, who had lived to see the first temple be built, all cried, not because it was honoring of their legacy. I should have re-rolled that. But because it was so inferior to the first temple, whose glory was lost forever. Very sad, honestly. Whoa. I don't really like that item. I definitely don't like that item. Well, it could help me get a little more money, I guess. Who are you? And there's the money. So, in the book of Nehemiah, again, the Jews are released back to their homeland. They build the second temple. Then they also, a lot of the story of Nehemiah is how they rebuild the walls to Jerusalem itself, because a lot of the enemies of the Jews didn't want to allow them to even build up their own city again. They didn't want to see it happen. They didn't want to see it be defensible again, rather. Well, that's a shame that I lost that. Yeah, I'll take that. It's not great, but it'll do. Uh-huh. And okay, not very exciting. Not when I have 2 hits and then I'm dead. Although where are you? There you are. Okay, we'll do this tactically. Oh. Ah. Neither of those are good. Neither of them give me health either. I mean, Little Horn is amazing, but I have negative luck. Was that? No, it's not. Shame. Well, I got a little excited there to see the rainbow poop, but, unfortunately, doesn't really help me. Not yet. I don't need more speed. Not really. Anyway, that will do it for the general history of the Old Testament. There's still a lot of wisdom in the Old Testament, both in terms of, like, my personal opinion and also in terms of, like, what was written. I'm not just saying... Oh... I'm not just saying that. Anyway, this isn't going well for me. And I think I'll have to stop it here. I don't know. I think I need to take a break. I think I need to take a break. That was a dumb decision. I guess it's appropriate, though, since I, just finished my topic here. I guess I'm in a bit of a slump, aren't I? But that'll do it for today. Hope you learned something. And I will see you again tomorrow. Take care.